Hello there my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So today we have a new look at the Mandalorian and Grogu, thanks to some leaked unit stills that have been making the rounds. Nearly all of them take place during the Ice Planet mission, where Din and Grogu, as father and son but also Rangers of the New Republic, infiltrate a Remnant operation, a Remnant base. So we'll start with this new photo of the landscape of this world, and it's described as, quote, and this is the official description from Disney, as a snowy, astronomical object. They don't use the word planet, and I wonder if this implies that it's a moon or a dwarf planet, and not necessarily Hoth from The Empire Strikes Back, which was the most popular fan theory up until this point. So next up we have some pretty cool shots of some of the Remnant troopers, in this case the AT-AT pilots. And while they do look very similar to their original trilogy counterparts, there are some crucial differences in the design. And one thing I've seen being mentioned that has kind of irked Star Wars costume purists is the lack of detail on the chest plate. In Empire, there was more going on with their life support vests, whereas here, it's rather minimalist. Donning similar gear to that worn by Imperial starfighter pilots, these guys wore an all-white, insulated jumpsuit, and along with sporting a reinforced helmet and life support pack on their chest, pilots had a standard blaster pistol, thermal detonators, and grenades. And one of the arguments I've seen about their appearance is that in a very similar way that the Mandoverse reinvented other types of troopers, they should have just given them an entirely different look, just like in the Jedi games. But I think it's important to remember they are remnants for a reason. As with the Remnant Snowtroopers, they've got a kind of off-white tinge to their outfits, which is also present on the action figures, because at the end of the day, they're remnants using much of the technology from the fallen Empire of old. The smaller remnants that aren't Hux, that aren't Pellaeon or Thrawn, don't have much funding. And this brings up one of the most fascinating aspects of the post-Return of the Jedi period: the financial situation of the Remnant, and their resources, or lack thereof. And that's one of the reasons the Shadow Council scene in the TV show was so important. The different warlords are struggling to fund their efforts. And the warlord, now confirmed to be named Lord Janu, the one who is the central villain of the Mandalorian and Grogu, mentioned that there's a fortune to be made plundering the hyperspace lanes. Although Pellaeon scolds him for not being discreet, warning that his hit-and-run operations are gaining too much notice. They want the New Republic to think they're individual warlords scattered across the galaxy, without unity and without influence. The truth is they have spies everywhere, and with Gideon dead, they were awaiting the return of Thrawn, who is back. The Remnant has people working for them all across the galaxy, even right under the New Republic's nose, advancing their cause and building the foundations for what will be usurped by the First Order. And as we know from Ahsoka, the concept art for the second season and what Morgan Elsbeth was working on, Thrawn is going to give them a leg up with the assets he brings to the table. We saw from the concept trailer at Star Wars Celebration, he's going to build a mini-empire on Dathomir. As Pellaeon said, the return of Thrawn will herald in the resurgence of the Imperial military, and it was explicitly stated that Thrawn is hoarding all of the resources, which the rest of the Shadow Council believes should be shared and distributed amongst all the members, including the two warlords about to appear in this movie. But returning to the point, through the ruggedness and appearance of these troopers, you can really see the lack of Remnant funding, at least in some areas. Some of the warlords do share. They provide Praetorian Guards, AT-ATs, AT-RTs, and so there is a little bit of unity, but I think Jon Favreau is setting up a wider inner conflict.
There are citizens loyal to the Empire on every planet in this galaxy.
And I have to admit, as we get deeper into the so-called Mandoverse, I'm curious to see how they're going to explore the canon version of the Remnant. If there are certain figures and events, especially on the more oligarchical side of things, that align with the expanded universe, or if they're going to adapt some of that. The very idea of a Shadow Council is borrowed from legends. After the fall of the Empire, Admiral Dala formed the United Warlord Fleets out of the Deep Core and began a campaign against the New Republic. However, she failed and relinquished full command to Pellaeon, and he established the Council of Moffs. But away from Thrawn and Pellaeon, you had other offshoots, like Warlord Zinj, who many people think is the inspiration behind Lord Janu. After the Battle of Endor and Palpatine's death, Zinj was recognized by many as the most powerful and dangerous remnants, and there's one very interesting parallel between the two of them. In Mando, Pellaeon warns Janu to not be reckless, lest he be spotted by the New Republic. In the expanded universe, that's exactly what happened to Zinj. He became the target of a New Republic campaign, which was led by Han Solo. The circumstances are very different, but as I've told you in the past, Lucasfilm tends to lift things from legends and reinvent them for the new Disney canon, and so far we have two huge similarities. Pellaeon working for Thrawn, having the most resources of the other remnants, Janu kind of doing his own thing, being his own separate offshoot, and realistically, if you want to know my opinion, probably not surviving the events of this film. And even though it's probably nothing, it's worth noting that Zinj died on Dathomir after building a fleet there. Dathomir is also a very big part of the remnants going forward with Thrawn, with the Great Mothers, and I wonder if, kind of related, Janu meets his end on the same planet, but under different circumstances, at the hands of Thrawn himself. Like I say, those small details, lifted from the expanded universe but changed, do tend to signal where the story is headed. In other Mando reveals, my friends, we have the name of a new planet, the planet where Janu has Grogu in a cage. According to the metadata for this photo, the planet is called Sequoia, and sat next to Janu is a new Iktochi, maybe his bodyguard, and his name is Hog's Breath. I'm not joking, Hog's Breath. And so finally, my dear friends, one final bit of Mando news. There was a bit of a rumour going round that the Mandalorian and Grogu did not use the volume, and this spread like wildfire, and a lot of fans were very excited about it. But here's the thing, it originates with a news outlet who misread the Empire magazine excerpt. They did not say that. In no way was that implied. The author of the article actually responded to some of these claims and said it's bogus. The movie does use the volume. What they're mistaking it for is Ahsoka Season 2. I don't think it's entirely void of the volume, but it was mostly filmed in the UK, with several amazing filming locations. And a bit of a treat for Ahsoka Season 2, here is a set image of Peridea. This is from Morai the Messenger, and they have posted a few photos now, and the source says the Peridea set is even bigger than what they thought. Judging by the size of the vehicle in the background, it's enormous. The blue screens, obviously for the immersive backdrops, the environments, but the scale of Season 2 is going to be massive. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Dave Filoni is going to do something special with this. There's been a bit of skepticism about his abilities as of late, but I think he's going to deliver on this. It's his bread and butter. Characters he's created, either for this show or in the Clone Wars and Rebels, now being developed further, the mythical aspects of the Force, a new galaxy. It's very exciting, and I'm sure there is more to come. But what a fun video today, guys. I want to know your thoughts. What do you make of the new Mando photos? We did a bit of fun speculation, but I want to know what you think. So share your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Also be sure to check out my Patreon. The link is down there in the description. But until the next one, my dear friends, may the Force be with you always.